It's wonderful to hear that voice, isn't it? To hear her talking about her own work, the voice so utterly unsentimental about Hollywood's golden age, so clear-eyed about her own performance, so curious about what's new, excited about the promise of the future. Her voice, Nina's voice, had a way of getting inside your head. A great teacher has that effect, I think. They become a kind of artistic conscience. For thousands of us who studied with her, Nina still lives in our imagination. In the motion picture of your life, there she is, providing the DVD commentary. I'm Ted Braun. I was a student of Nina's at USC in the late 80s. In the first class on directing actors she taught when she returned to USC after her sojourn to the AFI and Marshall Herskovitz and his crowd. Nina and I became friends afterwards, after that class, and for more than a decade now we've been colleagues at USC, where I teach screenwriting. Being colleagues gave us a chance to share in the pleasures of teaching, and it gave me a front row seat at the comic conjunction of Nina with academic bureaucracy. Imagine, if you will, getting a call from Nina late one afternoon. Ted, I just got this memo from the provost. For God's sakes, what am I going to do? They're not really going to send me to sexual harassment training, are they? But it also deepened our friendship over the years and gave me the rare opportunity with a great teacher to continue learning. When I met her, I was fascinated by the surface of cinema, in love with its allure and effect. She peeled back that curtain on human behavior, on acting and directing, and she made the magic of motion pictures attainable. She brought it within reach. I was thinking about how I've changed since I first walked into her classroom, and the answer is really very simple. I entered with a love of cinema, and I left with a love of life. Nina's standard of excellence, her exquisite sense of style, her bravery, her wisdom, which took a lifetime to gather and distill, and which we can repeat in phrases that fly by in a few seconds. All that, it's all part of that voice demanding that you do your best. But there was something else that she passed along beneath all that. I've thought a lot about it, and I think it was the most infectious and lasting gift that she had, and it was joy. She kept saying it in her classes. She said, you have to bring joy to your work. And over the years that I've known her, I've thought a lot about where that joy came from. Repetition, which is a sorry necessity of teaching, one of its great tools, but also a great danger for the teacher, especially at an institution where the years build expectations and requirements from the institution for you to do your certain thing. The experience of being in the classroom ties Nina's students from 1988 all the way to 2008. The jolt of having your picture taken when you walk in the door on the first day. The intimacy of sharing a hot object, right? And in so doing, discovering each other, right? And learning how props and emotions are related. The challenge to your perceptions and skills in preparing a scene and then bringing it into class. All of those things made being a Nina student something we could all share, but it was always something she had to do again and again and again. In a way, it was a predictable part of being her student, but she was never predictable. She was always surprising, and you can hear it in the voice up there. Right? And I've thought, where is the source of that surprise? And I think it came from her engagement with life. She never stopped being fascinated with the life in front of her, with the students in front of her, with the world in front of her. And I think that was the source of her joy in the classroom and her continuing source of joy until the day she passed away. I recently directed a documentary about the crisis in Darfur in Sudan. You can imagine Nina's reaction when I proposed this subject to her. What do you think you're doing, Ted? Really, why in God's name would anyone want to see a film about a bunch of people dying in Africa? To say nothing of the risk, right? Who cares about you? But imagine your wife and son if something happens, you know. I went anyway, you know. And when I came back, I remember telling her, "I found it, Nina. I found it. Joy." And she said, "Well," I said, "in the least likely place on the planet Earth, I found it." And she said, "Yes." And she had seen the film, and she said, "Yes, you know, you did. I can see it in your work." And then she said, "It's harder than you thought it would be, isn't it?" And it was, and it continues to be. And I thank her for that challenge. And most of all, I thank her for that joy that she introduced me to and that will be with me for the rest of my life.